going on, everybody? Welcome to Liberate Your Money, episode 27. It is October 6th, 2020. Today, I'm going to talk about a few things. Bitcoin is still hovering above $10,000. This is the longest time that Bitcoin is spent above $10,000, which I think is a pretty significant development. And so today we're just going to look at a few things, and then we're going to look at the chart and just tell you what I'm seeing, what I think is going to happen, some potential scenarios and levels that I'm watching. So let's hop into it. So recently there's been a few things going on in the crypto world in just in the macro environment that you would think would affect Bitcoin's price negatively. Like, for instance, I don't know if it was like a week or two ago, Kucoin, which is a pretty large exchange, got hacked. And usually when an exchange gets hacked, that's a decently sized exchange. It affects the price of Bitcoin, and really it didn't have any effect at all. And then another thing, Bitmex just, I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago, one of the largest derivatives exchanges for Bitcoin, the SEC basically said that they were charging the founders for not putting in the proper money laundering procedures. And they're fighting it. Bitmex released a statement saying that's absurd and they're going to fight it and yada yada. But I mean, we all kind of knew this was coming. You know, it's an exchange that's not very regulated. It says that it doesn't operate in the U.S. and it really doesn't. You're not supposed to, or you can't unless you have a VPN, which most people do. But either way, that news should have affected price, and if we go back 2 or 3 years, that would have definitely affected price big time. We probably would have seen a significant double-digit sell-off instantly on the news, you know. And we didn't really have that, and I think that's it's super telling to me. And if we look at the chart, you can see that really nothing in the past few weeks has really affected price too heavily. I mean, we've been in this range between 12K and 9,800 for a while now. You know, we had a pretty decent sized sell-off right at the end of August, but none of this really impacted Bitcoin significantly. None of this news did, and I think that's pretty telling. And if we take that into consideration with the fact that Bitcoin has been above this $10,000 threshold for going over 3 months now, and it's never done that before. If we draw a line, right at 10K or somewhere right around it, we'll just call it right there. Remove this other stuff here. You can see that, okay, we had a monthly close up here, and then it dropped down to this level. And then you could say that these closes were right at the level, then we dropped down, we couldn't get above it. Then we got back above it, closed above it once, and then we came back down below it. And then all these candle closes below it, stuck below it, and then we finally got above it just this year in July. And we had the candle close, we had another candle close above it, and then we had another candle close above it. So we've had 3 months. And previously we really only had 1 month that's closed above it, and that happened twice. Once right here, once right here. And then we got above it, and we are currently still above it in the 3rd month. And I think that's pretty telling. And I have this green box here because I think that this monthly level right here, if the price can hold in this level and hold above 10K, which I think it will in the long term, and I think in the short term, we could get a price spike down to maybe these levels, and I'm going to talk about that here in a little bit. But right now, I think, you know, this is great to see that Bitcoin is still hovering above 10K when previously it struggled to stay above 10K for more than 2 months, and we're above it going on our 4th month now. We're in the middle of our 4th month. Granted, it's the early part of the 4th month, but still, there's something to be said there. Plus, I think if we hold above this block here, we're currently in that block of pricing. You know, I think if we hold above it, you know, we're off to the races. And I had the weekly 21-day moving average has been a long time indicator that we are in the bull run. If we look at in the past, see the orange line is the 21-day moving average, and you can see that when we entered the bull market, price, you know, it ranged below it, kind of like we are doing right over here. Ranged, we got above it, and then we fall below it, and we get back above it. Well, eventually price got above it and it stayed above it, and it never really closed a week below the 21. You know, there was this span of a couple months where it was literally hugging the line, and I think that we're gonna see something similar to that over here. Right now, in the past few weeks, we've been hugging the line, and look, you know, we could see a lot of volatility in these weeks, and the price is probably gonna dip below the 21. Like down here, I mean, look how far it dipped below the 21. People were panic selling, like, oh, this is the end of the bull run. And then what happened after that? It reaccumulated, and price stayed above it and kept going up. And then you have these spikes that it's going to dip down, but ultimately you want to see the weekly candle close above the 21 weekly. So if, like, let's say this week's candle dips below the 21, like, I'm not going to panic. I'm going to wait and to see where the end of the week is going to close, because I know in the past price got below it, but then it would spike back above it. So if anything, right now I'm thinking if price gets below the 21 moving average, like, I'm buying. Like, that's a buying opportunity for me, because I think we're on that part of the stage of Bitcoin where we're entering the new bull market based on the history of Bitcoin. And if I open up the Bitstamp chart where it's got more data and I can look back farther, I mean, you can see that history, it's repeating itself. You know, it looks different, but ultimately it's remaining the same, in the sense that once we have a halving, price climbs. We have a halving, price climbs. We have a halving, we're in the beginning stages of the price climbing. Problem is that this is the weekly chart, so it's going to take some time. Each candle is a week's worth of price action, so you know, that's why you kind of just got to zoom out and look at the bigger picture, and you will understand that literally Bitcoin is in a great spot right now. And that's kind of what I want to just highlight on this video, is like, historically we've never had 3 months where Bitcoin's been above 10K. That's major, and price is hovering above the weekly 21 moving average, which historically has been bullish for Bitcoin. And if we look at where price is at relative to the halving, we can see that, look, it has a halving and it usually has a sell-off. We had our halving, we actually had a pump afterwards. You know, maybe we get a little dip below it and then we continue the bull run, or maybe some more sideways action before an expansion to the upside. I think it's coming. I think we're just in that reaccumulation before another expansion. And I think it's just a great time to build a position in the beginning stages of another bull market. We just had our halving. There's no reason that the strategy should be any different until, you know, we get like a weekly close below this level, or we get a monthly close below that level that we talked about on the last chart in that green box, then you might have to start changing your plan a little bit. Like, okay, maybe I need to sell a little bit, or, you know, hopefully you have some stop losses for some stuff that you bought. If price gets below it, that you automatically sell it so that you can reposition that capital at a better price if price continues to go down. So that's kind of my strategy, what I'm planning on doing. I'm really just going to be watching this weekly 21 moving average. I think it's likely that we, you know, depending on what markets do. Another thing, Trump today, he announced that he wasn't going to be providing any stimulus until after the election, or he wasn't going to approve of any stimulus. You know, political or non-political, it affects the markets majorly because a lot of the liquidity comes from these stimulus packages, and, you know, it's free money for these corporations and pumping up their own stocks. And so we had a little bit of a sell-off in the markets, you know, upon that announcement. And, you know, we could see maybe a sell-off. It's election time. I mean, there's definitely a lot of uncertainty in the air. I'm expecting, you know, anything, to be honest. Like, I would not be surprised if we get a 15% swing in either direction, and it just, you know, price goes one way and then goes right back to where it was, or even, you know, we get a fake out and it just bombs the other way, or up. And I think there's just going to be a lot of volatility once that decision gets closer to being made, as far as, you know, demand reaching supply and everything. So we'll remains to be seen, but I'm still bullish. I'm buying the dips. I'm excited for the recent price activity in relation to the events that have been happening. I'm excited that it's been holding. We're holding about 10K. We're seeing a drop off in volume down here. If you look at the volume bars, I think, you know, usually when you have this decline, it could mean a drop in price, but I also think once price gets above that, we could see a nice expansion. And I'm leaning more towards a bullish expansion. I think this is reaccumulation right here. I mean, this is a major level to get above right here. That is the level. I mean, once we get above this 12K, I mean, we're going to be testing them highs, and, you know, sky's the limit once after we get past that. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I want to talk about today. I like the way that Bitcoin looks. I'm still bullish. I'm buying dips. Follow me on Twitter. Subscribe to the channel. Hit me up, and I will see you guys in the next video. All right, peace out.